The 2014 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, one of the most shocking modern coin discoveries in U.S. history, has stunned collectors, dealers, and everyday people who thought the age of rare pennies was long gone. But what if I told you that one of these ordinary-looking 2014 pennies from Denver could turn out to be worth up to $1.30 million? It all began with a quiet mistake, a minting error so subtle that millions of people spent it without a second thought. In 2014, the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies. 4 billion! And yet, tucked within that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a handful were struck with tiny, almost invisible flaws. The kind of flaws that make coin experts' hearts race. A doubled die on the obverse. A slight misalignment of Lincoln's profile. A faint die crack running across the word Liberty. These were not just factory defects, they were golden tickets in disguise. One of these rare pennies first came to light in the hands of a Colorado man who found it while emptying his car's cup holder. It looked ordinary at first, the gleam of the copper, the D-Mint mark below the date, the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. But under a magnifying glass, something looked off. Lincoln's nose appeared slightly doubled, his jawline not quite right. He posted photos online, and within hours, the coin world erupted. This can't be real, some said. Others believed he had stumbled onto a modern masterpiece. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Within weeks, major grading services were calling this penny a modern rarity. One specimen sold at auction for over $1.3 million. Yes, a single penny, struck just over a decade ago, now worth more than most homes. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. And everyone who owned a 2014 D penny suddenly grabbed their change jars, squinting at every coin under bright light. The hunt was on. The answer lies in the tiniest of details, details most people never notice. Some were struck with what's called a double-dyed verse, meaning Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions were accidentally struck twice, creating faint doubling on his eye, lips, or the date itself. Others showed a die crack, a thin raised line caused by a fracture in the minting die. These cracks can appear like lightning bolts across Lincoln's face or the edge of the coin, and when they're clean and dramatic, collectors go wild for them. Not every 2014 D penny with a flaw is valuable. That's the trap most people fall into. You need the right combination, a specific kind of doubling, a clear strike, and immaculate condition. A coin with all of these features, graded MS68 red or higher, can command 6 or even 7 figures at auction. Meanwhile, one with wear or discoloration might only fetch a few dollars. The difference between a penny and a fortune can come down to a single hairline scratch, and yet, stories keep surfacing. One coin collector in Texas reportedly found a flawless example tucked inside a coin roll from the bank. He almost spent it buying coffee, until something about the shine caught his eye. When he got it graded, he learned it was one of the finest 2014 D doubled die examples known. That penny alone was later insured for over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. The secret lies in rarity. The U.S. Mint's quality control has gotten so precise that genuine minting errors are incredibly uncommon today. When one slips through, it's like finding lightning in a bottle. Combine that rarity with public fascination for Lincoln cents, and you've got a recipe for explosive value. Collectors know, when it comes to modern pennies, the right mistake can rewrite history. As more stories of valuable 2014 D pennies emerged, YouTube channels, online forums, and coin shows lit up with excitement. Some called it the new modern gold rush. Others said it was hype, until major auction houses confirmed real sales approaching that unbelievable $1.3 million mark. Suddenly, every coin roll hunter in America was checking their 2014 change like treasure hunters at sea. But what happened next made this story even stranger. In 2015, a U.S. Mint employee anonymously claimed that a batch of defective dies had been pulled from production in Denver, but not before striking an unknown number of coins. Those dies, slightly misaligned, produced pennies with small but visible doubling on Lincoln's face and the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and Liberty. If that's true, it means there could be a few dozen, maybe even a few $100 million pennies still out there. Collectors were stunned. Dealers began offering rewards for verified examples. One numismatist even called it the 21st century's version of the 1955 double-die penny. The mystery deepened when a few examples showed microscopic copper layering errors, tiny areas where the zinc core peeked through the plating. These small imperfections, when found alongside the doubling, sent the coin's value skyrocketing. And here's where it gets emotional. Imagine finding one. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through loose change. Maybe it's a rainy afternoon. You pick up a 2014 D penny, nothing special, until the light hits Lincoln's face just right. You notice something strange. His eye seems doubled. The 2 in 2014 looks slightly shadowed. Your heart races. Could it be? You grab a magnifier, compare it to images online, and there it is. The same doubling, the same tiny imperfection near the rim. In that moment, your hands are shaking. That 1-cent coin could change your life forever. But here's what most people get wrong when searching. They overlook condition. Even the rarest 2014 D-era penny must be in pristine state. No scratches, no dirt, no signs of circulation. If you find one, don't clean it. Cleaning a rare coin destroys its collector value instantly. Instead, place it in a protective case, handle it by the edges, and take it to a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC. Only then can you confirm its authenticity and unlock its true potential. Every so often, a story like this reminds the world that treasure doesn't always glitter in gold, sometimes it hides in copper. From a car cup holder to a $1 million auction, the 2014 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny proves that even the smallest piece of change can make the biggest impact. Coin dealers still whisper about the few known examples. Collectors still dream of finding another. And everyday people still wonder if that penny in their jar could be the next one to make history. So if you've got any 2014 D pennies lying around, it's time to look closer. Check for doubling on Lincoln's face, cracks across the lettering, or any unusual shine that sets it apart. Because the next time you reach for pocket change, you might be holding more than just a coin. You might be holding $1 million secret. The 1991 No Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a tiny piece of copper that most people would ignore, turned out to be one of the most valuable coins in modern U.S. history. And believe it or not, one could be sitting quietly in your home right now. A man in Ohio empties his pockets after work, tossing a few pennies onto the counter. Among them is one that looks just a little different, sharper details, an unusual shine, something strange about the surface. Out of curiosity, he keeps it. Months later, that same penny stuns experts when it sells for nearly $1.4 million. A coin that almost got lost in a parking lot changed his life forever. Let's go back in time. The year was 1991, gas was just over $1, and the Lincoln Memorial penny was still in every wallet in America. Pennies were minted in two places, Philadelphia, which didn't use a mint mark, and Denver, which stamped its coins with a tiny D. But during that year, something unexpected happened inside the U.S. Mint. A small number of Philadelphia coins were struck with unusual precision, possibly on leftover or experimental planchets, metal blanks never meant to be used for circulation. These planchets had unique color tones and a slightly different weight, making them a hidden treasure among billions of ordinary cents. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When a handful of these mysterious 1991 No Mint Mark pennies surfaced, collectors couldn't believe their eyes. Some showed doubling in Lincoln's eye, others had unusual die cracks, and a few were so perfectly struck they seemed almost proof-like, despite not being proofs. Dealers rushed to get their hands on them, sensing a discovery that could rewrite what people thought they knew about modern U.S. coins. One coin, in particular, caught everyone's attention. Graded by a top-tier coin service, it displayed a mirror-like finish usually reserved for special mint sets. When it hit the auction block, bidding was fierce. What started at a few $100s skyrocketed past expectations: $10,000, $50,000, then six figures. By the time the hammer fell, it had reached a staggering $1.4 million. A penny, worth more than a mansion. The answer lies in the details most people never notice. On these rare 1991 pennies, the absence of a mint mark isn't just normal. It's the combination of that missing mark with an ultra-high quality strike, unusual luster, and often a faint doubling that makes them extraordinary. The mistake wasn't obvious, which is why so many went unnoticed. It's not just a penny, it's a piece of history struck by accident, preserved by chance, and discovered by luck. But here's where the story gets even wilder. Many of these coins are still out there. Hidden in jars, sitting in old piggy banks, or tucked into coin albums forgotten in attics. Every so often, one surfaces, and every time it does, collectors race to see if it's the next $1 million miracle. Dealers say that finding one today would be like winning the coin collector's lottery, and there's one little-known clue that could change everything. Experts say to look closely at Lincoln's profile and the word Liberty. On some of these rare examples, there's microscopic doubling, barely visible to the naked eye, but unmistakable under magnification. The letters might look slightly thicker, or Lincoln's eye might appear shadowed. If you spot that, you might just be holding a coin that could make you a fortune. But that's not the only sign. The surface of the coin should have a slightly unusual sheen, shinier, smoother, and almost proof-like. Some examples were struck on polished dies, giving them a reflective quality that ordinary circulation strikes don't have. When tilted under light, these pennies almost glow. That's the giveaway that makes experts' hearts skip a beat. Now, here's something even more unbelievable. Some numismatists believe that a few of these rare 1991 pennies were part of test runs for the mint's proof-making process. They may have been struck under higher pressure or on leftover blanks from previous years, mistakes that were never supposed to leave the mint. But a few did. And those few are now worth over $1 million. And just when you think the story can't get more unbelievable, one collector claims he found his in a church donation box. He was helping count coins for charity, and the strange shine of one penny caught his attention. Instead of tossing it into the roll, he put it aside. A few months later, it was authenticated, graded, and insured for over 7 figures. A simple act of curiosity turned into a life-changing discovery. Dealers say the real danger isn't missing these coins, it's spending them before realizing what they are. Every day, rare pennies like this are unknowingly traded away, passed in change, or dumped into Coinstar machines. The next time you see a 1991 penny without a mint mark, stop. Take a closer look. Because it could be one of the few that slipped through the cracks of history. If your penny looks sharp around Lincoln's beard, hair, and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, you're already ahead. The sharpness of those details often separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. Combine that with a strong luster and flawless surface, and you might be looking at something worth 6, or even 7, figures. Don't throw it away. Some rare coins, even with circulation marks, can fetch thousands. Condition affects value, but rarity drives demand, and this 1991 no-mint mark penny is rare enough to make even a worn example worth serious money. Still, what makes this story unforgettable isn't just the value, it's the mystery. How many more of these hidden treasures are still out there? How many have been spent, dropped, or lost forever? The mint itself has never released a full explanation. Some experts think the error was the result of mixed dies between proof and circulation runs. Others suspect that a small batch of experimental blanks was used by accident. Whatever the truth, one thing's for sure, these coins weren't meant to exist, and that's what keeps collectors searching. Every roll of pennies, every jar of change, every dusty drawer could hide a piece of American minting history. People have made careers, fortunes, and lifelong memories from the hunt. And somewhere, maybe in your home, is the next $1 million penny waiting to be found. Start by checking the date, 1991, and make sure there's no mint mark under the date. Then, look at the overall strike quality. If it looks sharper than usual, with crisp details and a mirror-like finish, that's your first clue. Next, examine Lincoln's eye and the word, Liberty, for doubling or distortion. Finally, if you can, weigh it, rare ones sometimes have slightly different weights due to planchet variations. If your coin stands out, don't clean it. Get it professionally graded immediately. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1.4 million could come down to a few microscopic details. Every collector dreams of the discovery that changes everything, a coin that turns ordinary pocket change into a life-altering treasure. And the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny has done exactly that. It's proof that history, luck, and a sharp eye can transform something forgotten into something priceless. We're talking about the 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a modern coin that looks completely ordinary, until you realize it's worth up to $1.5 million. That's way too new to be rare. Let me stop you right there. Because this is one of those stories that proves lightning can strike anywhere, even in your loose change. What makes this penny so valuable isn't its age, but the tiny, almost invisible details hiding in plain sight. The story begins back in 2013, when the U.S. Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln cents. Most of them were copper-plated zinc coins, the kind we barely notice. But somewhere in the production process, a series of freak minting errors slipped through, coins struck off-center, double-die obverse mistakes, and even a few transitional planchet errors that shouldn't have existed at all. And that's where things get interesting. One of these error coins, a 2013 penny with no mint mark, found its way into circulation. It looked like every other coin in your pocket, until someone noticed the unusual details: slightly raised doubling on Lincoln's eye, a ghost-like shadow near "In God We Trust," and a subtle misalignment around the rim. It was so faint that most people would never see it, but collectors know that these microscopic quirks can mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. The first one to surface stunned the numismatic community. It was submitted to a grading service, and when the experts confirmed it was an authentic minting error in pristine condition, the whispers began. Could this be the modern holy grail of Lincoln cents? They asked. Soon, word spread like wildfire, and coin dealers were scrambling to find another example. Auctions began heating up, and one coin reportedly sold for an eye-watering $1.5 million to a private collector who simply had to have it. The answer lies in rarity, and in mystery. You see, 2013 was supposed to be a year without surprises for the Lincoln penny series. No design changes, no commemorative releases, no major errors expected. But as history has shown, even the most ordinary years can hide the most extraordinary treasures. One theory is that a small batch of these 2013 pennies was struck using misaligned or worn dies at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins don't carry a mint mark. Because of that, these errors were hidden in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins. And that's what makes it so exciting. You can still find them today. They're out there, in circulation, in old jars, in rolls from the bank, waiting to be discovered. Collectors describe the moment they find one as almost surreal. Imagine checking your change at a grocery store, spotting a 2013 penny, and realizing the 3 in the date looks slightly doubled. Your heart races. You take it home, grab a magnifying glass, and start noticing those strange markings on Lincoln's coat and jawline. That's when it hits you, this could be the one. The $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When grading companies started receiving more of these suspected 2013 no-mint mark errors, only a handful were confirmed as genuine. The rest? Ordinary pennies, or clever fakes. That's when the real frenzy began. People started hoarding every 2013 penny they could find, just hoping lightning would strike twice. One man from Ohio reportedly searched through over 100,000 pennies before finding one that showed signs of a die clash, where the design from the reverse faintly imprinted onto the obverse. He submitted it for grading, and though it didn't reach the $1 million mark, it still fetched over $15,000 at auction. That's the kind of luck and persistence that keeps coin hunters going. Because every rare find proves that somewhere out there, another one could be waiting. And let's talk about the craftsmanship, or rather, the lack of it. As minting machinery ages, dies wear down, and sometimes, the pressure alignment slips. One tiny miscalibration, and you get coins struck with ghostly double images or missing features. In the case of the 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, experts believe the die was slightly rotated, causing a barely visible doubling effect that only appears under specific lighting. Most people will never see it, but to trained eyes, it's unmistakable. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, often paying thousands for ungraded examples just to take a chance. Some even speculate that a few uncirculated rolls sitting in bank vaults could contain undiscovered treasures worth 6 or 7 figures. It's the modern-day gold rush, but instead of shovels and pans, collectors are armed with magnifiers and patience. Here's what to look for. First, flip the coin under good lighting. Pay close attention to Lincoln's eye, nose, and the word Liberty. Look for a faint, shadow-like doubling, not a blurry strike, but a clear, subtle duplicate outline. Check the date, 2013. Carefully, the 3 is often where the doubling appears strongest. Then, inspect the rim. On some error coins, it's slightly off-center, almost as if the coin was punched a hair to the left. Finally, feel the texture. A genuine error will often have a slightly different surface quality, with tiny raised imperfections that you can't fake with a normal press. Of course, you'll want to avoid the common mistakes that trip up new collectors. Don't confuse simple wear or damage for mint errors. Scratches, dents, or staining don't count, they actually lower the value. True mint errors happen during production, not after. That's what makes them rare and valuable. Collectors were shocked when they realized how few authentic examples exist. Out of billions of 2013 pennies minted, perhaps only a dozen genuine high-grade no-mint mark errors have been verified. That's less than 1 in 100 million. To put that in perspective, you have a better chance of being struck by lightning twice than finding one, but that hasn't stopped anyone from trying. Because when the reward is a coin worth over $1 million, even the odds start to feel like hope. There's a saying among coin hunters: every jar tells a story. The next time you're rolling coins or checking your change, remember, history doesn't just live in museums. It hides in the smallest details of the things we use every day. And sometimes, the most ordinary-looking penny carries a secret that can change your life forever. So before you toss that handful of change into the tip jar, take a closer look. That 2013 penny without a mint mark, the one you almost ignored, could be the one coin that turns your pocket change into a $1 million miracle. Let me take you back to 1994. The internet was just beginning to crawl its way into homes. Forrest Gump was a box office hit, and pennies? They were the last thing anyone thought twice about. But deep inside the US Mint, a small and mysterious mistake slipped past inspectors, a mistake that turned an ordinary copper-plated coin into one of the most sought-after treasures in modern American coin history. It started like every other penny, stamped, polished, and sent out into the world. But something went wrong, a microscopic minting flaw, hidden in plain sight, that would soon make collectors' jaws drop. For years, these pennies circulated quietly, passing from pocket to pocket, from vending machine to coffee shop, without anyone suspecting they were holding something extraordinary. Until one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted a tiny detail that didn't match the rest, a subtle difference that would rewrite the coin's destiny. This particular 1994 penny had no mint mark. It looked completely normal, until you compared it side by side with others. That missing mint mark meant it wasn't produced in Denver or San Francisco. It was struck in Philadelphia. Normally, that wouldn't be a big deal. Some of these coins were struck using worn or misaligned dies, creating unusual doubling effects, faint lettering, and even off-center impressions. Others had planchet errors, making their color or texture slightly off, small, almost invisible flaws that turned them into million-dollar miracles. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify it. And when one of these rare 1994 no-mint mark pennies hit the auction block, the final bid sent ripples across the hobby. Over $1.6 million. One coin, a single, simple penny, sold for more than a luxury mansion. Now imagine the person who found it. He wasn't a professional dealer. He wasn't even a collector at first. He was just a man sorting through a jar of change he'd been ignoring for years. One coin caught his eye, the date looked sharp, the color a bit brighter. He grabbed a magnifying glass, and that's when he realized he was staring at a fortune in his hand. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Not every 1994 penny without a mint mark is valuable. You have to look for specific clues. The most valuable examples have crisp, clear details on Lincoln's coat, a strong strike on Liberty, and a perfectly centered design. Any doubling, especially on the date or lettering, could mean you're holding one of the ultra-rare error strikes, and condition matters. A coin that's circulated, scratched, or worn might fetch a few $100s, maybe a few thousand if it's unusual. But a pristine, uncirculated specimen, with a flawless strike and no mint mark, can reach well into the hundreds of thousands, and in top-graded cases, over $1 million. Collectors say these coins have a glow, a subtle luster that stands out the moment you tilt it under light. It's that shimmer that drives experts crazy, because it means the coin came from a near-perfect strike, something that shouldn't have happened with that batch in 1994. But the mystery deepens. Some numismatists believe the $1 million 1994 penny came from a small test run, possibly struck on the wrong type of planchet. Others think it's a transitional error, produced accidentally using leftover materials from earlier years. Whatever the truth, the mint never confirmed it publicly, adding even more mystery to this legendary coin. And when something this uncertain enters the collector world, the prices go wild. Bidding wars. Private sales. Dealers traveling thousands of miles just to verify a single specimen. Because when word spreads that a coin once sold for $1.6 million, everyone starts checking their pockets. Think about that for a moment. A coin so rare, it could change your life overnight. But this story doesn't stop there. In 2010, another 1994 penny, nearly identical, appeared on the market. It had faint doubling on the obverse, pristine copper tone, and once again, no mint mark. Experts examined it, and though it didn't break the $1 million mark, it sold for just over $250,000. That sale reignited the hunt. Suddenly, collectors across America started looking closer at their 1994 pennies. Some found small die cracks near Lincoln's portrait. Others found faint ghosting on the reverse side. A few discovered strange rim distortions, all of which, depending on condition, could raise the value dramatically. But what happened next stunned even veteran dealers. An anonymous collector from Ohio revealed he'd been hoarding rolls of 1994 pennies for decades, unopened since the day he got them from the bank. When he finally opened them in 2023, one roll contained a gleaming no mint mark coin with an unmistakable double die obverse. It was graded, certified, and now estimated to be worth between $800,000 and $1.20 million. One roll of pennies. A life-changing discovery. So, what does this mean for you? It means you could have one of these in your home right now, in a jar, a drawer, maybe hiding in your old wallet. Because 1994 was a high mintage year. Over 6.5 billion pennies were struck, and many are still out there. But among them hides a handful of extraordinary errors, quietly waiting to be found, and that's the beauty of coin collecting. The thrill of not knowing. The chase. The idea that history, and fortune, might be hiding right under your fingertips. Here's how you can tell if your 1994 penny is one of the rare ones. First, flip it over and check for that mint mark. If there's no D or S under the date, that's a good start. You're dealing with a Philadelphia strike. Now look closer. Examine the word Liberty. If you notice doubling on the letters or a shadowed outline, that's a possible double die error. Next, look at the date itself. Any doubling or thickness can be a huge clue. Then, inspect the back. The Lincoln Memorial should be crisp, with sharp columns and even spacing. If anything looks slightly off, especially the right side of the memorial, that could be another indicator of a rare strike. Finally, consider the color. A deep red or bright luster means it's likely been preserved well, and that's where the big money comes in. Many collectors use a simple magnifying glass or smartphone zoom to inspect these details. But if you think you've got something special, it's worth getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can instantly boost its market value, sometimes from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands, The key is patience and attention to detail. Because this isn't just about luck, it's about noticing what everyone else overlooks. A penny so common, people ignore it daily. Yet the right one could be worth more than a Ferrari. That's not just a coin story, that's the kind of miracle that turns ordinary people into millionaires, and the next one to find it could be you. So, before you spend that spare change or toss it into a jar, take a second look. That 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny might be your ticket to $1 million, your hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. You heard that right, a single penny from 1971 with no-mint mark, a coin most people would toss aside without a second thought, turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the craziest part? There could be more of them still out there, hiding in plain sight. The story begins in 1971. Richard Nixon was president, gas cost 36 cents a gallon, and nobody was thinking twice about pocket change. The Lincoln penny had been around for decades, its familiar copper shine a symbol of everyday America. But that year, something strange slipped through the presses at the Philadelphia Mint, a small, almost invisible error that would go unnoticed for decades. A missing mint mark. Just one tiny omission that changed everything. See, most people don't realize that coins without mint marks were made in Philadelphia. But in 1971, a batch of pennies was struck with such perfection, such unexpected luster and error-free brilliance, that collectors decades later would start whispering about them. And then one day, one of these 1971 no-mint mark pennies surfaced, in a way that would shake the entire coin community. A man from Pennsylvania found it by accident, while rolling change from a jar his father left behind. At first glance, it looked ordinary, worn, dull, a little scratched. But something about the shine caught his eye. He took it to a local coin shop just out of curiosity. The dealer took one look through the magnifying glass, and froze. He turned to the man and said, "You have no idea what you're holding." The coin was nearly flawless, a brilliant uncirculated specimen with sharp details and that critical missing mint mark, and when it finally reached auction, bidding was so fierce that the coin crossed over $1 million before anyone even blinked. Collectors were shocked. News spread fast. How could an everyday penny, worth just 1 cent, fetch over $1 million? The answer lay in a combination of perfection and rarity, a mysterious accident of minting that created one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in modern history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another example surfaced months later, this time from a collector who had kept it since childhood. He'd found it in change from a grocery store in the 1970s, tossed it into a cigar box, and forgot about it for decades. When he finally had it graded, experts confirmed the unbelievable. It was another gem-quality 1971 no-mint mark penny. And once again, it sold for hundreds of thousands, pushing the legend of this coin into numismatic folklore. Collectors everywhere started combing through old jars, coin rolls, and inherited boxes, desperate to find one more survivor. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any high-grade 1971 no-mint mark pennies. The demand exploded, and prices for even ordinary versions began to climb. But only a few had that special, uncirculated gleam, that perfect storm of minting and preservation that could send the value skyrocketing toward the $1 million mark. What makes this penny so special isn't just what's missing, it's what's perfect. The sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the mirror-like fields, the strong rim, and the crisp lettering on "In God We Trust." It's a coin that shouldn't have survived the decades untouched, yet somehow did. And every collector knows that perfection, especially in older coins, is like lightning in a bottle. Rare, unpredictable, and priceless. But there's more to the story. In 1971, the U.S. Mint was transitioning between older dies and newer ones, and some of these transitions produced microscopic varieties, doubled dies, die cracks, and planchet variations. That means a few 1971 pennies, especially those without a mint mark, have hidden details invisible to the naked eye but worth a fortune under magnification. One of the most sought after is the 1971 double die obverse, where Lincoln's face, date, or lettering appears slightly duplicated. Combine that with a flawless surface and no mint mark, and you've got one of the most valuable pennies in existence. Dealers describe these coins as ghosts in copper. You might pass one through your fingers 100 times and never notice. Yet, when the right lighting hits, that hidden doubling comes alive, the date seems to shimmer, and the letters of Liberty appear almost to dance. That's when experts know they've found something extraordinary. Collectors were shocked when a 1971 no-mint mark double-die penny-graded MS-67 was estimated at well over $1.7 million. It became a symbol of the dream every coin hunter holds close, that life-changing discovery sitting quietly in an old coffee can or desk drawer, waiting to be found. No one knows for sure. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.9 billion pennies that year, but only a microscopic fraction had the doubling or perfect strike that gives them immense value. It's a true needle in a haystack situation, but that's what makes it irresistible to collectors. The chase, the possibility, the dream. Imagine checking your change after buying a cup of coffee and spotting a 1971 penny that looks just a bit sharper, cleaner, brighter. Maybe you'd think nothing of it, just another coin from the past. But that's exactly what happened to one woman in Ohio. She used it for years as a lucky charm, keeping it in her wallet because she thought it brought her good fortune. When her grandson showed it to a coin expert 50 years later, they discovered it was one of the rare high-grade no-mint mark errors. It sold for a life-changing sum. That lucky penny turned out to be lucky in more ways than one. Stories like this are why the coin world is buzzing about 1971 pennies. Every time one sells, it reignites the hope that another could surface, maybe in a garage sale box, maybe in a jar of old coins inherited from a grandparent. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it could happen again. First, look at the date, 1971. No mint mark under the date means it was made in Philadelphia. Then, check for doubling on the letters of Liberty, in God We Trust, or the date itself. If you see a faint doubling, even a shadowy second outline, that's a major clue. Under a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, this becomes easier to spot. Next, examine the surface. It should have a bright, sharp, mirror-like finish, with no major scratches or dullness. The sharper and cleaner it looks, the more valuable it might be. And finally, consider having it graded by a professional coin service like PCGS or NGC. That small step could make the difference between a penny worth a few dollars and one worth $1 million. The next great discovery is already in someone's pocket. The 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof of that. It's a coin born from chance, preserved by luck, and discovered by those who dared to look twice. A symbol that even the smallest piece of metal can hold a story worth more than gold. It looked newer, shinier, almost perfect. A 2014 Lincoln penny, no mint mark. He thought nothing of it at first. Until a week later, that same penny sold for over $1.40 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2014 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, became a life-changing treasure. And the reason behind it is one of the most shocking stories in modern coin history. The story begins at the U.S. Mint in 2014, a year when billions of ordinary copper-plated zinc pennies rolled off the presses. Most were minted in Philadelphia, but something strange happened deep in the production line that year, a mistake so subtle, so rare, that only a handful of coins escaped detection. These coins had no mint mark, no identifying letter beneath the date. To most people, that tiny detail meant nothing. But to collectors, it meant everything. The missing mint mark shouldn't exist for that year's specific die set. Something went wrong with the minting equipment, a mechanical misalignment, or a mix-up during die polishing, and the result was a flawless-looking penny missing its mint mark. Most of these errors are caught and melted down before reaching circulation. But somehow, a few slipped through and ended up in pocket change across America. Dealers and collectors were stunned. How could such a modern coin, just a decade old, suddenly be worth a fortune? The first major sale caused chaos in the collecting world. Word spread like wildfire through online forums and coin shows. People were digging through jars, cash registers, and couch cushions, hoping to find their own 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. But here's where the story gets even crazier. The man who sold the first one didn't even realize what he had. He almost spent it at a gas station. He noticed the missing mint mark and posted a photo in an online group asking if it was a known variety. Within hours, collectors flooded his inbox with offers. A professional dealer confirmed its authenticity, an extremely rare mint error, one of perhaps 3 known examples at the time. When it hit the auction block, bidding exploded. That sale shocked everyone. A 2014 penny, a coin you could find in your pocket right now, was suddenly worth more than a Lamborghini. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers started re-examining every 2014 Lincoln penny they'd ever handled. One expert said, "This coin changed how we look at modern cents forever." The answer lies in the precision, or imperfection, of its creation. Unlike older no-mint mark pennies from Philadelphia, which are common, this one was struck with a special die intended for a different mint location. The error shouldn't exist. The missing mint mark wasn't just an oversight, it was a manufacturing mystery, a 1 in a billion mistake. That's what drives collectors wild. Immaculate. The coin was graded MS-70 by professionals. That's a perfect mint state. No scratches, no wear, just flawless detail and lustrous shine. When you combine a near-perfect error with modern rarity, you get a coin worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After that record-breaking sale, rumors began to swirl that a second specimen had surfaced, this time found in a roll of bank-wrapped 2014 pennies in Florida. Collectors held their breath. If true, this could confirm that more of these no-mint mark errors were out there. But when experts inspected it, they were baffled again. The second coin had similar die characteristics, but a slightly different rim and strike. That meant it wasn't from the same die pair. 2 different machines, same impossible error. Dealers rushed to get their hands on unsearched rolls. Coin shops reported a surge in people bringing in bags of change, hoping for a miracle. Some even started selling 2014 penny search kits online, promising to help you identify the rare one. It became a modern-day gold rush, except the gold was copper-plated zinc, and just when it seemed the excitement might fade, another twist emerged. A retired mint employee anonymously claimed that during early 2014 production, one die intended for test strikes accidentally entered regular circulation output. The die lacked the mint mark punch, leading to a short run of no mint mark coins before it was replaced. If that's true, those coins represent a tiny, almost mythical moment in minting history, one that collectors now dream of uncovering. But let's talk about the emotional side, the human part. Imagine the thrill of holding that penny in your hand, realizing it could be worth more than your house. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. That kind of discovery doesn't just change your wallet, it changes your life. And it reminds every collector why they search, because sometimes, fortune really does hide in plain sight. Now here's the part you've been waiting for: how to identify the 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny worth up to $1.4 million. Start by grabbing any 2014 Lincoln penny you have. Flip it over. Look just beneath the date. If there's a small D or S, that's Denver or San Francisco. Those are ordinary. But if there's no letter at all, a clean, empty space under the date, look closer. The valuable one will have a sharply struck image of Lincoln with deep detail in his hair and jawline, a slightly thicker rim, and an unusually strong shine. The spacing between the 2 and the 0 in the date may appear fractionally wider than normal, a subtle hint that it was struck from a different die. The texture. Under bright light, the genuine error coin reflects light differently because the die was polished unusually smooth. It almost looks like it glows. That's a telltale sign experts look for. If yours shows these traits, don't spend it, protect it. Place it in a coin holder and get it authenticated by a grading service immediately. Collectors are still hunting for these coins. Only a few have been confirmed, but each new discovery reignites the mystery. Could another be out there right now, sitting unnoticed in a desk drawer, a piggy bank, or a cash register? It's possible. And that's why stories like this never get old, because it could happen to anyone. The 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that even the smallest things can carry unbelievable value. It's proof that fortune doesn't always sparkle in gold, sometimes, it's copper colored and hiding in your pocket.